Fundada em 1974, no bairro de Kensington Market, em Toronto, o Working Women Community Center começou por ser um centro de emprego para as mulheres portuguesas, caribenhas e latino-americanas. Hoje, esta organização tem cerca de 140 funcionários e 500 voluntários, que servem por ano entre 10 a 15 mil pessoas em 25 línguas, espalhados por 4 locais na cidade, com um orçamento de 6 milhões de dólares. Desde 1999, que Marcie Ponte é a diretora executiva deste centro.
It's a settlement agency for newcomers coming to Canada who need help with their employment, finding housing, getting their children in school, all the things that someone needs when they're moving to a new country. When I came to the center as executive director in 1999, there was one location, 12 staff, and they basically sat in their offices and waited for clients to come to them. And I said, no, we're going to go out to where the clients are. We're going to go out to communities and we're going to go and speak to them. We're going to be in places where they are. That could be in churches, that could be in hospitals, that could be in clubs, it could be whatever it is. That's what we're going to do. And that's how we did it in the 70s.
Natural da ilha de Santa Maria, Marcie partiu para Vancouver aos 7 anos de idade com a sua mãe e irmãos em 1963. Aí, reuniu-se com o seu pai. No início da década de 70, mudaram-se para Toronto, onde Marcie viria a reencontrar-se com as suas raízes culturais e apaixonar-se pelo trabalho comunitário.
I went to school at Centennial College to study community development, and I discovered Kensington Market, I did my placement at St. Stephen's Community House. And for the first time since being in Toronto, I felt like I could actually breathe because it felt like home, it felt comfortable. It was a Portuguese community, and I wanted to be part of that. My job at St. Stephen's was to do outreach into the Portuguese community and to coordinate events. The way we did outreach in those days is not the way we do outreach today. We actually went door to door and knocked on doors and spoke to people. Kensington Market was one of the most vibrant places I had ever experienced. It was great. You could go and you could smell the food. You could sense the vibrancy of the community. I knew I was Portuguese, but it was never, I didn't live it in the same way that these people were living it. I was just a Portuguese kid. And so for me, it was a real sense of education of who we really are as a community, what we bring to the country. That started to change things for me and how I became more Portuguese than I was at that time.
Marcie faz parte de uma geração de luso-canadianos de esquerda que emergiu nos anos 70, dos quais saíram muitos assistentes sociais, sindicalistas, ativistas, políticos e outras ocupações dedicadas às causas públicas. O 25 de Abril em Portugal, as greves das operárias fabris e das empregadas de limpeza portuguesas nos edifícios da Baixa Toronto e os diversos movimentos progressistas que prosperaram no Canadá durante essa década formaram a consciência social e política de Marcie, que há quase 5 décadas combate os persistentes problemas sociais que continuam a afetar as mulheres, imigrantes e trabalhadores.
I actually have to say that it was women in those days who were really inspiring, women who were very active, and these women were vocal. They weren't afraid to speak up. I remember when McGregor Socks went out on strike, it was Portuguese women who led the strike. So there was a real sense that if women were going to do well, they're going to have to fight for themselves. I found men a little bit more docile and not as willing to take charge and come out and be active. Yeah, the 70s was my favorite time to work in the sector because of the energy that we felt. It was a time when everybody was organizing for different reasons. There was less fear to be vocal. There were a lot of movements. The International Women's Day movement parade, the march, happened in the 70s. And for the first 3 years, it was led by mostly white women. And then we came along and said, that's gotta change. And we as immigrant women have to have voice. In fact, working women ended up leading the third march in the 70s because we made a point of saying immigrant women have a place in this society. And we want to be part of a march that speaks to who we are and what our needs are and what our entitlements are. And so we're slowly coming back to that era of how work should be done in communities. And we have to, because Toronto's changing so much and every community is so different. You have to adapt to how you deliver service to people in their own place. The revolution in Portugal and the whole Salazar era, once I started learning, for me it was really awe-inspiring. I started to understand that there was more to this than just being Portuguese. There was a history that people walked away from, that people, not dissimilar to why people are coming to Canada now, right? It's like we've gone full circle.
Desde novembro de 2015, o Canadá recebeu mais de 40 mil refugiados sírios, através de diversos programas de acolhimento baseados na colaboração entre os governos do país, cidadãos privados e a sociedade civil. O Working Women Community Center é uma das organizações que mais programas oferece a estes recém-chegados na grande área de Toronto, metrópole onde mais de metade dos seus 6 milhões de residentes são imigrantes.
I think Canada has acted admirably in responding to the Syrian crisis. As a sector, it came on really fast for us to have to respond, because we had to bond together as organizations to try and address the refugees. We ended up having 2 staff at the airport on a daily basis, welcoming refugees and helping them figure out where they were going, where they needed help, if they had relatives or if they had a sponsor, how they could meet with a sponsor. And so our job has been to bring them into the organization and help them understand Canadian culture, what they've walked into.
Marcie recebeu em 2013 a Medalha do Jubileu da Rainha Elizabeth II pela sua carreira dedicada ao desenvolvimento comunitário e é atualmente uma das nomeadas ao prémio do Royal Bank of Canada para os 25 imigrantes mais destacados no Canadá.
If I can be an example for other Portuguese young women to also want to become involved, I use that as my tool. I want to be that example for young women to say, well, maybe I could do it as well, and to not be afraid to take challenges and to be motivated to do what they want to do and always find their passion, and whatever it is they want, find it and go forward with it.